Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Court. This is a post-game live reaction show. I am your host, Liv Moods, and this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So just head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to another episode of Gorilla Sports Off Court. This is a special edition that we pretty much do almost every game we possibly can, which is a post-game live reaction show reacting to the Denver Nuggets game. The Denver Nuggets took on the San Antonio Spurs at home last night and fell short. Pretty messy, chaotic basketball at the end of that game, resulting in a loss. There was a last-second turnover, really, that caused the Nuggets to fall short to the San Antonio Spurs. Wembanyama and company got a win on the road, and then they hosted the Denver Nuggets in San Antonio on a back-to-back. They played tonight. The Nuggets went into overtime against the San Antonio Spurs and won in overtime, 122-111. There is a lot to unpack here. Hopefully, I've got some of you guys already getting in the comments section. I will be flashing some comments up throughout the show so we can go back and forth. If you have not been live with me before, if you have not joined one of my shows before, we like to just have healthy discussions and disagreements. And if you guys want to get in here and flame my favorite NBA team, fine. I might do a little bit of that with you. It's all coming from love. I've been a Denver Nuggets fan my entire life. I love the Nuggets, probably the most out of any professional team that I've ever watched. But that does not mean I don't hold this team accountable. And they're definitely, despite this win, there are some things we have to talk about in terms of this Nuggets team, both on the positive side and the negative side, things that I was happy to see and things that I want to see differently. First and foremost, we've got Brandon G in the comment, go Spurs, go. We welcome all sports fans here to have healthy conversation. The only sports fans I really get sick of seeing in the comment section are typically Lakers fans. It's mostly because they love to hear themselves talk, but I do welcome Lakers fans as well. If you guys want to get in here and talk about all the different things that are wrong with the Denver Nuggets, that is fine. It's a long season, and hopefully this Nuggets team will continue to, well, we know they will. We know they will continue to take us on an emotional roller coaster every single night that they play, but we're hoping in the month of January. They have 17 games in the month of January. 8 of which I believe are at home, 9 are on the road, and most of the teams they will face will be above 500 teams. So they're good teams. And the month of January, in my opinion, not only because everyone's in their New Year's resolution era, everyone's trying to be a better version of themselves, but we really want a better version of this Denver Nuggets team. And we want that to be solidified in the month of January, given that they are going to be playing some tough competition. Spurs apparently being one of them. Let's start with the first half of this game, because that to me was maybe the most alarming, despite the Nuggets really not being down by much at halftime. They were at 54 at halftime, and I believe, was it the Spurs up by 1 with 55? I think it was. I think the score was 55-54 Spurs going into halftime. And we know this Nuggets team throughout this season has struggled in the first half. They really, really have. They start off very slow, which is also why when we've seen Russell Westbrook as a starter, that record that the Nuggets have with him as a starter, I think so much of that has to do with the fact that Russell Westbrook elevates the pace of this team. They play quicker ball. They have a little bit more hustle and effort out the gates rather than falling short, being at a deficit at halftime, and then having to claw their way back in that third quarter. We do watch the Nuggets play their best basketball typically in the third quarter. We started to see some signs of that in the third, but really the fourth quarter from a defensive perspective was the most impressive for me in this game. In that first half of basketball, I would say the storyline of the first half was the three-pointers. The Nuggets were 1 of 15 from the 3 in the first half. Now, we have heard Coach Malone recently say in a post-game presser that this is not a roster that is built for volume three-point shooting. And I disagreed very heavily with that when he first said it, because I think we have the talent, we have the skill there, we have the players that are capable of volume three-point shooting. But when you see a first half that is 1 of 15 from the 3, you can blame a lot of different things in this game. You could blame tired legs. You could say that it's a back-to-back and they had to travel. But guess what? So did San Antonio, and their threes were falling. And we know that if Coach Malone does not want to live and die by the three like every other team in the NBA, so be it. But defend the three enough so that you aren't struggling offensively. That being said, the Nuggets were only down by 1 despite being 1 of 15 from the three. It helps when you have the best player in the world on your team. He can light it up from the three at any given moment, but he also just finds shots every single game, any opportunity that he can. So first half for me, storyline was the 3-point line and the fact that the Nuggets very, very badly struggled from the 3-point line. Had some of those threes fallen, they would have been up at halftime. They weren't. They were down by 1, which is pretty good given what we've seen actually throughout the season. They've been down by far worse at halftime this season. Now, I'm seeing a lot of comments, so let me just take a quick pause, read through some of these, and get some of these up on the screen. BM says, I was so heated seeing Jokic not guard Wemby, but he can't do it all. Offensively, Nikola Jokic is magic. Truly the best player in the world. We know Nikola Jokic is not the best defensive player out there. And he does, in a lot of ways, play a little timid to me defensively always, but especially against Victor Wembanyama. And I think Nikola Jokic, just like the rest of us, knows how special of a talent Victor Wembanyama is. Like Jokic, Victor Wembanyama finds shots. And so I do see Jokic play a little bit more of a timid defensive game. Again, he's not a perfect defender. He has a lot of work to do in that department, but it does seem like he pulls back a little bit against Victor. So I kind of expected that tonight, but that fourth quarter defense to me was what really set this apart for this Nuggets team. Again, it did go into overtime. Jokic with a last second at the buzzer shot that did not fall, unfortunately. But in overtime, we got to see Jokic do what Jokic does best. I believe Jokic ended with over 40 points in this one. Yes, 46, 9, and 10. Significantly worse rebounding tonight than he was the other night, but so was, well, actually no, Victor Wembanyama with 23 boards. I think the other night they both had 18, if I'm not mistaken. Jokic had another 40-point performance just last night against this exact same team. 41 points, 18 boards, and 9 assists for Jokic last night against the San Antonio Spurs. And then tonight, 46, 9, and 10. It's Nikola Jokic. You know, I'm not going to be surprised when we see this from him any given night because he's just that good and he's just that special. Okay, Jamal Murray playing like the beginning of the season again. God, oh God, please. I thought that maybe, just maybe, I was over my bitching and complaining about Jamal Murray. I really thought we were getting to that point where he was starting to lock in more. He was feeling more motivated, and we were going to get an elevated version of him moving forward. Do we expect perfection from these players every single night? No, we don't. And I know you're probably sitting there going, here she goes. She's going to start talking about the max contract. You're damn right I am. Yes, I absolutely am. Going into overtime with 11 points to me is just skin crawlingly bad. It is so uncomfortably bad to me that our max contract player, who not only is on a max contract, but is arguably our most valuable player when it comes to fourth quarter play. Typically, that is the guy that you expect to get hot, find his rhythm, and light it up in the fourth quarter to help elevate this Nuggets team to a win. We are no longer seeing that from Jamal. Like at all. 11 points going into overtime. And then he ended the game with 13, 6, and 6. Now, the other thing, I tweeted this out and I said, if you're not going to score 20, 25, matter of fact, if you're going to score 11 in a game as a starter on a max contract playing 37 minutes of basketball, my hope would be, okay, he was not the offensive star. We didn't need him to be that tonight, right? So my hope would be, as our starting point guard on a max contract, who may in past have been a part of conversations feeling like they were snubbed of an all-star, my hope would be that you have at least 15 assists, right? If you're not scoring, you're facilitating. Nope, 6 assists for Jamal. Again, just not okay with that performance, and I probably never will be. So if you're sitting there thinking, Liv, you're too hard on this man, sorry. Not sorry. I'm really not. 13 points to me is just not okay. It's just not okay. And if you are not going to be that offensive superstar, then so help me God, please show some promise defensively. And we're not getting that either. So that's where the frustration lies with Jamal Murray. It's not just an offensive struggle we're seeing, it's both sides of the floor that he is just not showing up the way that he needs to. This is a job. Right? At the end of the day, he's not showing up and doing his job the way he needs to. And that's just the simple facts of the matter. Cedric says that was stressful. Yeah, more stressful than it needed to be for sure. But that is typically how the Nuggets have been winning basketball games this season. It's an emotional roller coaster. You don't know what you're going to get. They are up and down and all around. But again, I want to take some positive out of this game and say, because they did win. Thank God they did win. That is one positive. The other positive is that defense that they truly showed up with in the fourth quarter really eliminated what the Spurs were able to do in this game. And I think had they not locked in defensively in the fourth quarter, it would have never gone into overtime and the Spurs would have won this game. Back-to-back wins against the Denver Nuggets is what we would have seen from this Spurs team. The Nuggets locked in defensively. I think they carried over some of that momentum that they had in the fourth quarter into that overtime performance. The Nuggets are now 4-0 in overtime this season. To me, that still shows some promise in the clutch gene, if you will, that this team finds a way when they need to. But what's frustrating about that, I think, as Nuggets fans, is that most of the games we see go into overtime should have never been in overtime. So we can talk about being tired and having tired legs and, it's a long season, this, that, whatever. I don't care. At the end of the day, a lot of these overtime appearances we've seen by this Nuggets team were against teams that they had no business even allowing overtime to be an option. They should have taken care of business right from the jump. Going 1 of 15 from the 3 in the first half, not great. And allowing the Spurs to light it up from the 3-point line and not getting a ton of defensive stops early in this game, again, dug the Nuggets a hole that they had to crawl back out of. And when you have to constantly have that crawl back mentality, you will be tired by the end of an 82-game season. Newsflash, you will be exhausted. So, yeah, Cedric, like you said, a win is a win. You guys know me, though. These post-game shows are extremely therapeutic. Hopefully not just for me, but also for you. We really just like to get on here, rant a little bit, get some things off our chest so that we can sleep peacefully. That was a vintage Big Three Nets-esque game, just beyond stressful, but pure hoops. It was. And honestly, as stressed as I was, you always have that calm as a Nuggets fan, that little bit of calm. And trust me, it's fleeting at this point, but that little bit of calm knowing that you've got Nikola Jokic on your team. I feel pretty comfortable in the fourth quarter and in the overtime of most games, if they're close, that the Nuggets will get the job done. That is something I can confidently say. If Jokic is healthy, he's on the floor, the game is pretty close in that fourth quarter or in overtime, I feel confident that the Nuggets team can find a way to win. Doesn't always mean that it's going to happen. Want to talk about MPJ on a also very positive note. 28, 10, and 2 from Michael Porter Jr. tonight. I cannot wait until February 6th comes and goes, and we have zero more conversations about Michael Porter Jr. being traded. I understand that he is the last tradable piece, and I do also understand as a Nuggets fan watching this team, there are clearly holes. There are things that need to be fixed. Unfortunately, to me, the biggest things that need to be fixed are maybe having a conversation about the culture of coaches versus players, and also Jamal Murray. Well, guess what? You can't trade Jamal Murray right now. You just paid him a max contract just ahead of this season when he was not playing his best basketball. So that's kind of on you, front office. There's not a whole lot we can do about that. We've just got to work with what we've got. We have Jamal Murray. We've got to work with what we've got. But if this front office is sitting there thinking, we've got to make some changes, how do we make those changes? Unfortunately, Michael Porter Jr. is the answer to that. But he in no way, shape, or form should be touched or moved around from this Denver Nuggets team. 28 and 10 for MPJ, 4 of 9 from 3. He really started to heat up in that second half, and it was crucial for this Nuggets team from a momentum perspective and also kind of confidence. They weren't really playing super confident in the first half of this game, which I guess is fair, consider all things considered. Losing to the San Antonio Spurs just last night, having to travel, being tired, I get it. But the San Antonio Spurs were probably also tired. So we don't even want to talk about those excuses in this post-game live because quite frankly, they don't matter. They just don't matter. Both teams playing on a back-to-back, both teams had to travel. They're both tired. You just have to dig deep and find a way. Russ came in clutch and MPJ helped. Yes. Russ. Russ. Russell Westbrook finished 9, 10, and 6, a very complete stat line, right? And he's playing 36 minutes of basketball. We're seeing him play a lot more. I think Coach Malone knows the impact of Russell Westbrook. I think the front office knows the impact of Russell Westbrook. And more importantly, the players know the impact of Russell Westbrook. So we're going to continue to see him get some good minutes. Okay, I'm scrolling down, down, down. I may go back up and get to some more comments from earlier in the show. MPJ is the man of the game. I absolutely agree. And I think when you get MPJ and Nikola Jokic that have that chemistry that we've been seeing with Russell Westbrook and Nikola Jokic, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Nikola Jokic elevates players around him. Point blank, period. And if you watch this Nuggets team, you can see that. You can feel it. When we get Jokic connecting with one guy, especially the guy that's getting hot, okay, when you've got Jamal Murray that's got 11, but you've got MPJ who's splashing threes and he's at 20 something, that's your guy. That's your guy right now. It's not Jamal, right? And there were moments with Jamal that I was like, don't you dare shoot that ball. If you start playing selfish basketball right now with 11 points, I'm going to flipping lose my mind. If with 33% from the field, you start playing selfish basketball, I might quite literally throw the remote through the TV. That's where I'm at. Don't do it. So again, that's where the frustration comes into play for me. When you've got 11 points, I would expect you to have more than 4 assists. Please, God. Or I would expect you to be dominating defensively. We're not seeing it. There's a total lack of hustle. And it's just going to be a frustrating season. I hate to say this. While we've seen flashes of Jamal Murray doing what we know he can and what he needs to, that's it right there. Of course, I want Jamal to score 30 points. Jamal needs to score 30 points from time to time. Jamal needs to get hot in a fourth quarter and drop 20 in a close game against a tough opponent. That's not even a want anymore. That's mandatory at this point. If this team is serious about being a contender and making a deep run in the playoffs against this insanely competitive and talented Western Conference, Jamal has to do that moving forward. It's not even, well, this in a perfect world. No, in this world, right here on this planet Earth, in the Mile High City, you need to do it, Jamal. You have to. It's not even an option anymore. So we've got to see more of that. MPJ looked great. And honestly, the more we can build up Michael Porter Jr.'s confidence, that's kind of the position that we're in. Definitely noticed a hole in the rebounding tonight. Rebounding to me, I was like, come on, Nuggets. And then I had to kind of check myself and say, this would look different with Aaron Gordon out there. And we know that. He's very physical. He attacks the glass. We know this about Aaron Gordon. I know that when we get Aaron Gordon back, some of that frustration I'm feeling right now will be subsided. Will it be perfect? No. But will it be subsided? Yes, it will. So having Aaron Gordon back is going to be highly, highly important. Nuggets below Lakers in standings is frustrating. Of course it is, but it is a long season. And we've seen this Lakers team do this before. They go on little heaters, and then at the end of the season, when it matters, and their 2 best players are aging grandpas, they fall apart. So I'm not super worried about the Lakers right now. We're still their daddy. Don't worry. I've already had Lakers fans, 2 different Lakers fans that are awfully loud on social media in my comment sections tonight, basically just saying like, you're in my thoughts and prayers. Oh, am I? Okay, well, maybe worry about your own team because you're not perfect either, okay? And there's a lot of games ahead and a lot can change. Just look at the Nuggets play basketball from the first quarter to overtime. A lot can change in a season, in a month, in a week, in a game. The Nuggets are going to keep us on the edge of our seat. That's what they do. They love to do it, and it just is what it is, okay? I want to talk to Nay here. She says the game truly shows when they try, they can make something happen defensively and get stops. I just don't know why they wait to defend. I wish I knew. You know what I'm starting to feel? You know those people on sports teams, if you've played not even professional sports, if you've played sports, period, if you've been a part of a team sport, even a work environment, you can understand what I'm about to say. There are people in life, whether in a team sport, a work setting, even in your household. Sometimes I can be this person. I will actually take you back to a college story. Okay. My head coach at TCU had talked to me about when I was going through a lot of mental health stuff and I was severely, severely depressed, so much so that I was hospitalized. Long story. We don't need to get all sappy and deep right now. That's not what this is about. My point is, when she was talking to me, she's like, hey, you have the type of energy that when you're on and you're happy, everyone around you feels it. And it's like the best practice ever. And when you're not on and you're not happy, you suck the life out of the room. What makes you good makes you bad. And we know when Jamal Murray gets in that get hot mode, when Jamal Murray finds that rhythm, he can make every player around him just feed off of that intensity and that energy. You know what I'm talking about? When Jamal Murray starts to do that snarl, it's like, oh, it's game time. It's ready. It's time to lock in and get effing serious because Jamal Murray is hot. But when he's not, he feels like an energy sucker. Okay. So when he's not shooting well, when he's got a percentage of 33% from the field, it kind of takes a toll. I would imagine there is some building frustrations. I'm not saying with Jamal necessarily, but with the fact that this Nuggets team is just not playing their best basketball, whether that be in a game as a whole, in the first quarter, in the second quarter. It doesn't matter. I think that when you have a guy like Jamal Murray, we're not even talking about the money he's making right now or the actual role he has on this team, which is starting point guard. We're talking about the fact that he has a contagious energy about him, either in a great way or in a really, really bad way. So when I watch this Nuggets team start to really lock in, to me, it kind of looks like frustration. They're like, F this, okay? We don't have a hot start from Jamal. He's not making shots. We're not getting hustled defensively. When they start to play pissed off, they start to look like they can really be somebody defensively. So maybe we need to tap into that more. If you remember correctly, Nikola Jokic made a comment about, in my country, when you don't do your job, you don't get paid. Touche. Love that, actually. Love the honesty. This is the most in a season. This is the most vocal we've ever seen Nikola Jokic about frustrations that he has with basketball. He usually keeps it pretty even keel. We don't hear a lot from him very often. And this is the most vocal that he has been about his frustrations with this team. So when they start to play PO'd, that's when I think they start to play better defensively. The problem is they really only play PO'd when they're playing bad offensively. You need to just be able to tap into that frustration that makes you a good defensive team, even when things are going well offensively. What this Nuggets team does is the threes start falling. Jamal Murray's hot. Russell Westbrook's facilitating like an animal, and him and Jokic have chemistry that is seamless and beautiful and poetry. And then they get complacent and they get comfortable and they let their guard down. And then all of a sudden, a 15, 20-point lead is now a 4-point lead with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. This is a story we have seen unfold about 157 times this season alone. Okay. It is exhausting. So what this Nuggets team needs to do is find that anger and that aggression when things aren't going right offensively. That's when they are forced to be a strong defensive team. Be that anyway. That is why I constantly say defense is two things: effort and communication. And the effort part is what lacks when the offense is working. They're like, yeah, we're good. We're chilling. This feels nice. No, it doesn't feel nice. It's not over until the clock strikes 0, okay? And the fourth quarter is out of time, or in this case, overtime. So to me, that's what we see a lot with this Nuggets team, is that when things are working offensively, we let our guard down defensively. And when things aren't working offensively, we are pissed off, we're playing out of frustration, and our defense looks the best. Let's have the best of both worlds here. Let your offense work and still be pissed off that you're allowing the other team to score points. I don't know. Seems like a simple concept, but maybe it's not. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. Someone's talking about depression meds. I am on a great medication. Don't worry, guys. We are healed up. We're good. P-Watt was great. You guys know I am a big big P. Watt fan. I actually was able to get a signed Peyton Watson jersey for my mom for Christmas. I think I've talked on the show a couple of times about me being friends with Peyton Watson's uncle. He is one of the coolest guys ever. And he hooked it up. P. Watt signed a jersey for my mom, even wrote her name on it. I have literally, I will tolerate zero Peyton Watson slander. If it happens in real life, I will shut it down. If it's in my comment section, you might get blocked. But in all seriousness, I'm sure you guys could probably figure out what I love when it comes to certain players. It's always effort. It's always hustle. Like, yes, Peyton Watson sometimes makes some silly mistakes and he's not perfect. He'll miss a free throw. He'll have a turnover. He'll miss a layup. These things happen. He is not a perfect. He'll miss a wide open three. These things happen. But what I can always respect and admire about Peyton Watson is his ability to stay locked into the game and understand that when you make a mistake, here's a concept. You go and make up for it 2 seconds later on defense. That's what I love about Peyton Watson. I am a huge Peyton Watson stan. You will likely never hear me say a bad thing about him because I just think he constantly is giving full effort. And for that is all I ask for. When I was a coach of a dance team, this was my first season not doing it. I did it for the last 3 seasons. And one thing I always said is I never expect perfection, but I always expect effort. And if you don't give me effort, I can't coach you. I can't make you better if you're not trying. I can't want it more than you do. So I'm big on effort, and I'm that way just in life in general. But when I watch sports, I feel the same. I don't need you to be draining threes all game long. I don't need you to be perfect. You can have a turnover or 2, but guess what? You turn the ball over, you better run back down the floor and find a way to make an impact, make a big defensive stop, and show me that you care. You're honestly so pissed off at the mistake you just made that you're trying to make up for it. That is what makes a team great. When you have 5 starters, 5 guys on the floor that are constantly keeping the same thing in mind, which is how do we outcompete our competitor? And that's just it. Sometimes I think the Nuggets rely too much on the fact that they're just talented and they don't compete. You have to compete at all times. Offensively, it's not always going to work, so you better compete defensively to make up for it. That is the one thing that is missing from this Nuggets team. Because we see a lot of signs of life with this offense and this defense. Offense to me is working. It's been working. I'm not mad at what our offense has been doing this season. If we look at the point average, they're scoring and they're scoring well. I'm not worried about that. It's the defense. That is what has to change. That's what's got to give. I talk about it every freaking show. I feel like a broken record, but that has to change. And I think there is also an element of defense, like any part of basketball, is a team effort. I watched the green-haired monster on the San Antonio Spurs catch a pass at the 3-point line, and I watched Nuggets players not move their feet at all. Jamal standing still, MPJ right in front of this guy standing completely still, and they all went like this and watched it go in the net. What the actual frick was that? Why are we standing there? Why is there no attempt to defend this? He was wide. You guys, I wish I knew the timestamp so that you could go back and watch exactly what I'm talking about. And get in the comment section if you know which moment I'm referring to. Their feet were planted. Not one person moved towards this wide opened green-haired monster. And they just watched the ball leave his hands and swoosh through the net. That's a lack of effort. You didn't even try. You didn't even make an attempt to go defend that wide open 3. That is the stuff that becomes very, very frustrating as a Denver Nuggets fan. How can you even, when there's no attempt to even play defense, you really can't expect to win basketball games, truly. And you certainly can't expect to be a threat in the Western Conference, given how competitive it truly, truly is. It Me says there are so many moments like that, Liv. Oh, don't I know it? I have to go there are times, you guys, I have to grab the remote and rewind and go, did I just see that right? Did the whistle blow and I didn't hear it? Why were their feet not moving? I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing sometimes. It really, really is. Um, yeah, and I think some of it is like they look insecure. Remember who the F you are. Most of you have won a championship not that long ago. So remember who you are and figure it out. Quit feeling sorry for yourself. Okay. I don't do well with victim mentality. Never have, never will. Just won't. I don't think I'll ever. There are victims in this life. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. There are victims in this life. But the more you tap into your victim mentality, you're not going to get better. You're not going to change your life at all. You're not going to fix any problems you have. This is life talk now. Now we're really getting into therapy session. Welcome. Welcome to Live Mood's therapy session. It started with Nuggets talk, and now we are literally talking about life problems. No, but it's true. There is just this feeling sorry for yourself. And honestly, in my opinion, Jamal and Jokic are the worst at that. They don't get the call they want, they turn the ball over. They miss a shot they normally make, and all of a sudden, the shoulders are slouched. I'm big on body language, y'all. The shoulders are slouched, and they're just like bebopping over. Pick yourself up off the ground. You look a mess. Stand up, puff up that chest, roll those shoulders back, and remember who the F you are. Play some defense for the love of God. Okay? Right? If you're going to have 13 points, fine, do that, because I'm expecting more of that. I'm actually starting to get over it. Like at this point, I don't even care. Score 13, whatever. We can't force you to be making your shots, Jamal. But for the love of God, please get back down the floor and play some defense. And I don't know if people don't know this. You can't play defense with your eyes alone. When I watched their heads all do this, like, are you guys fans in the stands, or are you playing in this game? Why are you watching that shot just like gracefully fall into the net with your feet completely planted like they're nailed to the floorboards? What the hell am I missing? It's unacceptable. It is freaking acceptable. Okay, let's get to some more comments before I freak out. Um, let's see what you guys are saying here. Extending Jamal is turning out to be a franchise killer. Ay, 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 ay. It does feel that way, doesn't it? Ay, ay, ay. It really does. And I love every Denver Nugget we've ever had. I love all of the current Nuggets that we have. I love them all. But at a certain point, I start to lose my patience. I'm not a super patient person. I'm just not. And what I don't want, which is I think the era that I'm entering now, is I don't expect Jamal to score 20. When he does, that's going to feel like a special treat. Like, woo, he scored 20 points tonight. Yippee. Like, I don't expect that from him. And that is sad. I expect a 13-point performance from a rookie who played 25 minutes, not a max contract starter that played 37 and has won a ring. Oh my gosh, call the police. Someone needs to do time. This is unacceptable. Is it the front office's fault? Yeah, it sort of kind of is a little bit. I also a little bit sometimes blame Malone. Pull him. Put him on the bench. Put him on the bench. Somebody do quick math for me. 6 of 17. I don't like doing fractions in my brain, so just leave me alone. 35%. 35% from the field and 33% from the three. Oh my gosh. It's not good. It's not that is unacceptable. That's just that's the simplest way to put it. That is unacceptable. 33% from three, 35% from the field. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Here's the deal though, folks. Seriously, we have to just come to a mutual understanding. I have quite a few people in here watching live with me. Can we all just agree on this one thing? We just got to deal with it. I think the Nuggets need to get into that headspace of this is the new Jamal Murray. We got to stop fighting it. We have got to stop fighting it. We will feel so happy and full when he has a 27-point performance, or he scores 30, or he drops a 40 piece in a rare occasion because he's feeling himself. We'll be very excited and we will say, yay, Jamal. But for now, moving forward, I think we just need to come to the common understanding that this is the new Jamal. He's here to stay. I've lost my patience with it. I'm not going to keep hanging on to these few and far between good performances and say, oh, he's heating up. No. He's heating up in the microwave, maybe. And then you left it out on the counter, and now it's freezing cold again. Lukewarm. I'm not, from this moment moving forward, here's my promise to you, all the people that are listening. I'm not going to expect much offensively from Jamal Murray. I'm not gonna. But you know what? I think that's a smart thing to do. You know why? Because if we don't expect it, our feelings won't be hurt when it doesn't happen. What do they say? Expect the worst and hope for the best. There. That is the era I am entering with Jamal Murray. Expect the worst, hope for the best. And then we'll probably, he'll light it up. He'll have a 33-point performance and he's 6 of 10 from the 3 or something crazy. And he'll sit on the post-game presser and you know what he'll say? I just let people talk. Okay, well, yes, we are talking, and for good reason. 35% from the field, 33% from the 3. That I'm not being a hater. I'm simply reading his stats. If that makes me a hater, then so be it. I'm reading his stat line. I did math. And before you say maybe you suck at math, I use my calculator. Nanny poo poo. So there. I just think and that's where there can then be some scrutiny on Coach Malone where we're like, hey, quit trying to force feed us Jamal Murray. It's not working. We're not on board with you. If you want to be on board with him and the fact that he got paid and the fact that he's here to stay, fine. You can be on board with that. But we're not anymore. No, siree. We're not. Tap into guys like MPJ. He looks great. Tap into your Russell Westbrook. Tap into your Nikola Jokic. Get Aaron Gordon back and healthy. Okay? Quit force feeding us Jamal Murray. We're not hungry. I don't want to eat. Get that fork and food away from me right now. I don't want to eat it. I'm done. I'm full. Don't force feed us Jamal. Find whatever role you want for Jamal Murray, but he's not your all-star 3-point shooter anymore, Coach Malone. Sad, but true. He's just not. And I think the quicker we can come to terms with that, ladies and gentlemen, the less we'll feel like this right now. Because I'm not feeling great right now. Now, you're probably sitting here thinking, Olivia, this is an awfully negative post-game show. They won. You're right, they did. I know that. I know they won. 122-111. They got the dub in overtime. They did. They did indeed. But they should have, right? Like, sorry. I know. I always find a negative way to talk about it. I understand that. But like, if you are truly a Nuggets fan that wants the best for this team, you are not satisfied with what you just saw. Period. I thought that was common knowledge. We're not satisfied with that. We're just not. There's no way we're satisfied. You guys, let's talk a little bit about the Denver Nuggets schedule in January. You remember at the top of the show when I said the month of January was going to be crucial for this Nuggets team in establishing who the F they are? Yeah. If you want to be okay with a Spurs game that went into overtime that the Nuggets won 122-111, well, I have some bad news bears for you. They play the Celtics on Tuesday. I'm not sure 13 points from Jamal Murray is going to cut it against the Boston Celtics. Just saying. Okay. After that, the Clippers on Wednesday. And you're probably thinking, Liv, no problem. It's the Clippers. Yeah, we don't really handle them very well. We have once this season. Whoop-de-doo. I think that was our 3rd game against the Clippers. We had Norman Powell looking like flipping Steph Curry out there from the 3-point line. It was embarrassing. Okay. So in a back-to-back, We've got the Celtics who are going to run the Nuggets ragged because it's going to be an exhausting game. That's just the facts. Celtics Tuesday, Clippers Wednesday. Oh boy. Friday, the Nets. The Nets already took this team to overtime. Okay? Scary. Mavericks on Sunday. Oh boy. Woo, it's getting scarier. Then they face the Mavericks again on Tuesday, both of which are on the road. Woo wee. Okay, Wednesday at home then on January 15th against who? The Rockets. Yeah. I believe the Rockets are the number 3 seed right now in the Western Conference. That should be fun. The Heat on Friday. That might be an easy one, considering the Heat are a damn mess right now, all things considered, with all the Jimmy Butler stuff. Then they've got the Magic. Then they've got the 76ers. 76ers, I'm not worried about them. I can tell you this right now. That's a home game. And you know who we won't see in Denver on January 21st? Joel Embiid, because he's a chicken. He won't be here. We know that. So I'm not worried about that game. Kings on the 23rd. Timberwolves on the 25th. I mean, you guys, the Knicks, it's just not acceptable. So I'm not satisfied with the win. I loved the win. Thank God it was a win. But there is going to be a lot of competition in the month of January that's going to require a lot of points being scored, which when you don't have Jamal Murray, that definitely makes it tough. And it's also going to require some defense that is played in 4 quarters and not just the 4th quarter. You're picking up what I'm putting down? Okay. Asleep at the wheel. Asleep at the wheel is how I would describe this season for Jamal Murray. He's driving a Tesla. It's on auto drive. He's sitting in the seat. He wants you to think he's driving the car, but he's not. That's how it feels. And we just need him to just, again, I keep saying it, lock in. That's what we need from Jamal, because that's really what defense requires. You got to be locked in. You got to want it. And as much as I loved their 4th quarter defense, watching them just follow that 3-point ball right into the net, I was like, I'm going to be sick. I actually, it's one of those, if you don't laugh, you'll cry moments. Like, I could not believe my eyes. It was absolutely insane. I've also had many, many conversations with people just in real life, but also on these shows in the comment section about Coach Malone. I don't think firing Coach Malone right now is solving anything. I really, really don't. Should there be a very strong conversation, a very serious conversation following this season if the Nuggets don't win a championship? Maybe. I know that's a lot to ask. It's tough to win a championship. We know that. But when you've got the world's best player on your team doing what he's doing, back-to-back 40-point performances, damn near triple doubles in both, and you have to take the Spurs into overtime, not good. Not good. So at the end of this season, yes, there may need to be a very serious conversation about the future of Coach Malone's job in Denver. But right now, I don't think it's a good idea to get rid of him. I don't think that fixes their problems this season. After the season's over, pending how successful or not successful this Nuggets team is, that's when you have a deeper conversation. Okay. A lot of people saying trade Murray. And I've also seen a couple of things online. Like, who says no? Jimmy Butler in Denver. Mm-mm. 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 Nope. Don't do it. Please don't do it. I can't handle it. Yeah, here's the other thing about this. I guess that's one of the things that I struggle with maybe the most. Not the most about Jamal. But it just does seem like there's oftentimes a lack of accountability attached to his poor performances. He just has that very lackadaisical response of like, it's part of the game. It's a long season. Like, don't care to hear that anymore. Truly, I don't care to hear that anymore. You need to give us some type of reason as to why, because here's the deal. If it were just threes not falling, mental block. Players fall into a rut offensively. It is what it is. But what we're seeing from Jamal is just a total checked out, lazy, quite frankly, lazy version of him defensively. So what is your explanation for lazy? That's a choice. You choose to be lazy. You choose to not hustle defensively. I don't know a single NBA player that chooses to miss their threes. That I can have a little bit more forgiveness for. But choosing not to play defense, there needs to be an explanation for that ASAP with the most swiftness, because every time we see him get in a post-game presser, it becomes more about what we're saying as fans and what the media is saying and the chirping and the nonsense than like the actual problem. I would much rather sit here and just gloat and just rub every other team's face in what Jamal Murray is doing. That would be much more enjoyable for me than having these conversations. So I would love to know an explanation as to why there just seems to be a lack of urgency and effort on Jamal Murray's part. And then we see flashes of it and he dangles the carrot and then he's like, psych. Okay, 35% from the field, 33% from the three. It's foul to say those percentages out loud. But games like that can happen from time to time. But it unfortunately feels like that's becoming more common practice than the version that I think the Nuggets deserve given the money that they're paying him. So, not a fan. Not a fan at all. A lot of people talking about the Jimmy Butler trade to the Nuggets. I don't want it. I do think that Miami has a lot of responsibility they need to take here in the departure of Jimmy and how things have been handled. But it also in so many ways screams like that diva mentality, and I just don't think that that's the culture that Denver has. So I just don't. I'm good. I don't really know if that's a fit anyway. To me, it's not worth the money. It's not worth the money. I think he'd be happier somewhere else, to be honest with you. So I don't think it's mandatory to get Jimmy Butler in Denver, for being quite honest. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think trading players before February 6th would be a huge mistake for this Nuggets team. Because when you think about what you would get for a Zeke Naji, not a whole lot. You have to put MPJ on the trade block. You have to, if you want to get bang for your buck. And he's not the flipping problem right now. So again, I just don't think trades are, one, mandatory, and two, helpful in any capacity right now. I really, really don't. I don't think that they help anything in this moment in time. Eventually, could it be great? Yes. And I think there needs to be some serious conversations next season if we look at this season and it feels like another disappointment. Because when you look at the talent on this roster, it shouldn't be another disappointing season. And right now it feels like it's trending that way. When you've got an overpaid Jamal Murray that is still severely struggling. Yeah, MPJ, not an issue. He needs to stay. I would be devastated to see MPJ go, but we know that that is a tradable piece, one of the few we have left. So if the front office does decide to make any type of trades and changes to this roster, it's going to come at the expense of MPJ. And I have to also toot my horn just a little tiny bit because I called this. I called this months ago. I said MPJ will be the flipping scapegoat for the poor decisions our front office chose to make in the offseason. And so many people in my life were like, no way, no. He's not going anywhere. I'm like, okay, if we have a disappointing season, if things aren't going our way, the front office will start to have conversations about trading MPJ because he's all we have left to trade. He's going to be a scapegoat for their shitty decision-making skills. That's what's going to happen. He's going to be the scapegoat for another player that didn't deserve to be paid being overpaid. That's what's going to happen. So I had a feeling this was going to happen. I had a feeling it was trending in this direction. And unfortunately, we're seeing it. And we just know that there is an element of this that is solely based on the fact that we overpaid Jamal Murray. I think in so many ways, time was expiring with maybe Jamal Murray's time in Denver. We started to see little bits of that at the end of last season. And I think a lot of people wanted to believe like there's no way that this is forever. Jamal's just in a slump. Jamal's just injured. Jamal's just not in his best form right now. But what we're seeing is it's Jamal right now. It really is. So it's unfortunate and it's going to require us to um again, I think we just have to come to terms with the fact that the Jamal Murray we thought we were getting on a max contract is no longer the Jamal Murray that this Nuggets team has. And now Coach Malone has to be a strategist and figure out how to work around that because I just don't think you're going to pull Jamal Murray out of whatever mental slump he's in. He seems pretty disengaged. He seems pretty checked out. And then we see flashes of him being great and doing his job, and it feels really, really good and it's exciting to watch. But at the end of the day, it's not consistent. There's only so much you can do in terms of wishing and hoping for the best when that's not what you're seeing. It's not what's actually transpiring. So anyway, it was a win. I know that felt like a very like negative episode. It's like Liv, they got the dub. I know they did. They won in overtime, but I'm also looking at this from a bird's eye view, thinking if this Nuggets team wants to be legitimate contenders, they should have beat the Spurs. They should have beat the brakes off the Spurs 2 nights in a row. And they lost last night and then couldn't end this game in regulation against the Spurs tonight. 1 of 15 from the 3 in the first half. Defense not really being super solid until the fourth quarter. Jamal Murray only scoring 13 total points, and that includes overtime play. I mean, no. It's not going to work. It's not going to work against any team in the Western Conference. I can tell you that right now. It will be a long, long season if we can't find ways to activate our defense a little bit quicker in these games and also get a little more out of Jamal Murray. That's it right there, ladies and gentlemen. We need more out of Jamal Murray. I'm not even talking about points. I'm not even talking about 3-pointers. Just give us more. Whether it's defense, whether it's facilitation, whether it is threes, would love to see those. Points in general, would love to see that. But just give us more energy, more hustle, more commitment, more fire, like just more. That's it. I think you're giving bare minimum right now. And that's the part that's frustrating. I don't think this is a result of an injury like we wanted to believe it was in last year's postseason. I don't think this is a result of him just being in a slump with his talent and skill. I don't think it's that either. I think it's just bare minimum. So we just need I don't know. Yeah, and his energy, it just feels like because he's got such a contagious energy and people gravitate towards him as a leader on this team, despite Jokic being on this team. I think a lot of players still gravitate towards him. And because of that, when he's on, you feel it. When he's off, it sucks the life out of this team. And that's where I think Coach Malone needs to put his big boy pants on and potentially bench Jamal Murray throughout games or as a starter for a bit to figure out what's going on with him. That's where I'm at. It was a dub though, and I am very happy about that. It would have felt very tough to proceed through these tough January games knowing you started with 2 L's to the same team in back-to-back games, a team that you absolutely should have beaten. Because again, we talk often on this show about how these early games, although it's a long season, these early games do matter, and they will matter down the road, especially given the nature of the Western Conference. You know, that's why I try not to listen too much to the Lakers fans that are chirping in my ear about where their team is standing right now, because we know it could change like that. And the more of these like easy wins, there is no such thing. I get it. There's no such thing as an easy win in the NBA, but the more of these games that the Nuggets drop, I'm talking about last night, I think it screws up their morale. I think it screws up their confidence. I think it screws up their momentum. And we know this Nuggets team can, as good as they can be at crawling back into games, it's going to be really tough to crawl back into the season, especially if you've got one of your supposed to be best players not playing his best. So everyone else at this point on the team, rather than us sitting back and waiting for Jamal Murray to get hot, we just need to act accordingly as if he's never going to get hot. Pretend he is the type of player that only averages 15 a game. Make a strategy around that, Coach Malone, because that's truly becoming our reality. Make a strategy around the fact that your starting point guard shoots 33% from 3. Prepare for that. And then when you get something better, woo! Yeah. All right. But run the offense accordingly, given that Jamal Murray is just not the Jamal Murray you thought you paid for. He's just not. So act accordingly, come up with a strategy, and figure out ways to win games with a Jamal Murray that is likely not going to consistently show up the way you want him to. I think the quicker we can come to terms with that, the better off this team will be. So that's all from me, folks. We've been live now for about an hour. Very therapeutic little session here, and I really appreciate you guys sticking around and doing this therapy session with me. The Nuggets play again on Tuesday. I believe Brandon Krisztal will be at that game getting you guys coverage, but then they play again Wednesday and Friday, and I will keep you guys posted, of course, with some post-game live reaction shows. I have the option to be at the games as well and do some like pre-game stand-ups and some post-game stand-ups. But I always lean towards doing these post-game live shows with you guys where we can just sit down and talk for an hour and go back and forth, and I can put things up on the screen and chat back and forth with you guys. So that's kind of what I prefer. And that's probably what I'll lean towards most of the season, because I just really enjoy these conversations with you and I get to just blab for an hour. And I think it's very, very fun for me. So we'll probably lean more towards that as it pertains to Live Mood stuff. But we will, of course, have Brandon Krisztal going to many of the home games that the Nuggets have and getting us that post-game content, those post-game pressers that we can actually run on the show. That way you guys can see firsthand what Coach Malone is saying, what Jokic is saying, what some of these other players are saying after the game. So if the Nuggets play at home, we'll do our very best to get you guys that post-game presser footage. I'll go live here and do a post-game live reaction show, and then we will show those clips on these shows. So if you're not already following Guerrilla Sports on all things social, make sure you do so. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTubes. That's where a lot of this content lives. This was actually presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you save some money, get into a better interest rate, lower your monthly payments, you name it, they've got you covered. You can head to trustedamerican.com if you're listening, but if you're watching, you can also just go ahead and scan this QR code that I just popped up on the screen right here to see how they can help you save some money. So shout out to our friends over at Trusted American. Yeah, you guys. So you guys can, thank you guys so much. We appreciate the lives, lives, salute. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thank you for hanging out with me. Between X and YouTube, we've got like almost 1,700 people watching live right now. So thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you and love you so, so much. I appreciate you and love you for also just sitting and letting me vent and get things off of my chest as a lifelong Nuggets fan. But more than that, I really, really appreciate you guys also just giving your opinions and your thoughts and even disagreeing with me from time to time, because I can definitely watch this Nuggets team through a very emotional lens, and sometimes that kind of blinds me to some of the positive things that are going on or some of the changes that need to be made, because I really like love this team and love these players. So sometimes I get a little too emotional about it. And it's good to have you guys in the comment sections keeping me, focused on all the right things, and we go back and forth, we disagree, and I just appreciate you guys a lot. So thank you for being here. This has been another Guerrilla Sports Off Court, but those special edition post-game live reaction shows is what we were working with tonight. You guys can expect me doing the same thing Wednesday night and Friday night, following their 2 games next week. Tuesdays are tough for me because I do travel to and from California for the Debo show, and I'm not sure what day they're flying me out this week. So I'm just going to have BK cover us on Tuesday, but then Wednesday and Friday, you guys can expect me doing another post-game live reaction show following the Nuggets games, hopefully both of which are wins. And of course, we will do Off Court on Monday at 12 p.m. and then another episode again on Thursday. So you'll see a lot of me, obviously, throughout this entire season. I appreciate your guys' love and support. Have a wonderful, wonderful remainder of your weekend. Get some rest. Thank you for being here. This is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. And yeah, if you're a football fan, we'll catch you tomorrow for a post-game live reaction show following the Denver Broncos. Hopefully, they are making their way into the playoffs. And if not, I'm sure I will have a very large glass of wine once I get home from filming that show. So thank you guys so much for being here. Lots of love to you. We'll see you tomorrow for Broncos stuff, and then Monday again for all things Nuggets and Broncos and so on and so forth. So sending you my love. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you guys very, very soon.